Learned so many things. Okay. That little button is going to show up that shows we're recording.
Mm-hmm. It is.
There it is. Okay, great. Okay, then I'm going to repeat myself, but I want to say welcome to the Early Childhood Care's Parent Chat. And our Parent Chat today is about understanding the positive effects of mindfulness and learning some simple stress relieving strategies that are helpful and easy to use in a busy life. So in 1 minute, I'm going to introduce the presenters, but first, I just want to put a plug in for Early Childhood Cares. We provide early intervention and early childhood special education services to infants, toddlers, and preschool age children in Lane County. All services are free to once you become eligible. So on our website, which is Early Childhood Cares at the University of Oregon, you can go to that and you can see a video about our services or learn more about us, or you can call at 541-346-2578. So that's our shameless plug, but there are people who aren't part of Early Childhood Cares that gets, and we want people to know about us. So, okay, I'm going to introduce, we have two presenters today, and we're really lucky to have them on our staff. We have Florine Durlow and we have Krista Swanson, both autism specialists, EIECSE specialists with Early Childhood Cares, have worked for us many years, but they also help develop a curriculum on mindfulness for parents. So we get the wonderful pleasure of their expertise today. So I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Okay, thank you. I just want to start by saying thank you everyone for being here and acknowledging that this has been a really strange time. It's been about a year since we've all been on lockdown. So I, like many of you, have kids at home, and it's been a struggle. It's been really hard to keep some of my regular self-care practices going. And so I'm happy to talk about some of these little things, as much for myself as for any of the parents present. And I think it's great that you're here. So like I said before, this is really low key. If you need to go for any reason, if your children need you, please feel free just to click off. And I'm going to start sharing. Florine, I think maybe we might, since it's 4:10, I think we'll skip introductions unless someone wants to raise their hand and introduce, just because I may have made this a little bit long. So again, if you need to go, please feel free to do that for yourselves. So I just wanted to start one of the practices that can be really helpful and can just take a few seconds. And it was funny, as I looked at this at YouTube, there's like every sound you can imagine. So let's just take 5 seconds and we'll listen to some rain sounds. You can take a couple deep breaths, shake around, just get ready. So that would be one example of a tiny bit of self-care that you could do for yourself. Now, later,
just so you know, so sorry to interrupt you, but we couldn't hear it from yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have
to, particularly for future, like the other meditations and stuff.
Yes, I wonder why. I wonder if that's, Judy, could that have something to do with you being the host of the meeting and not me?
I don't think so.
I think I could hear it. I don't know.
You could?
I could.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Okay, well, we'll keep moving on and we'll see what happens. Thank you. So
wait, can I just ask, is the sound on your computer turned up as high as it can go?
Yeah, I could hear it here.
Okay.
But I have had that problem with my student trying to Zoom when I set up the meeting, that her sound wouldn't come through. Tammy, do you know anything about that? Well, we'll keep talking until we get there. So as Judy mentioned, we're going to be talking about the importance of self-care and some simple ways to practice mindfulness. The plan for the day is just to talk about that, talk about the kind of the separation and thinking about different types of self-care. Everybody has their own menu of what works best for them. And then we're going to do some practice. So this is the part that I think Florian and I are both pretty excited about. We'll do some in the moment practice, and we'll also share some meditations that you could check out later at later times. And then at the end, I have some resources. And if anyone wants at any time, we're a really small group, so please feel free just to unmute yourself and shout out a question. So we're already at the first moment. So let me know if you hear this.
Or Krista, they could put it in the chat if they don't want to speak.
It's me.
Can you hear?
I just want to say.
Can you have Emma make a pillow for us,
Just a
please?
second, Elma. I'll be right there, son. It is wonderful to get to spend so much time with our children, but can also be a bit overwhelming. But I just wanted to say, parents, you are doing an amazing job. Remember, though, it's important to take some time for yourself. Take care of you. You can listen to your favorite song, stretch, or just take a moment to breathe. Come on, breathe with me right now. Huh? Take a slow, deep breath in, and then breathe out. Feels good, huh? We are all doing the best we can, and that is okay. No, it's better than okay. It's okay, son. I'm coming. Looks like I have to go. Time to make a pillow fort. You hang in there and keep up the great work.
Caring for each other. Visit sesamestreet.org.
So I think that video came out months ago, probably before any of us realized how long this was going to go on. But the message is still really important, that being gentle on yourself, being graceful towards what you are getting done, and recognizing that this is different. And although it is a gift to spend time with all of our children, it also can be challenging at times. And then we wanted to talk about, you're all fabulous parents. You find time in the day to support your children. So then thinking, like, how do you support yourself? And as the adage goes, we can't pour from an empty glass. So it's important that we look towards our own needs too, whether that means asking for help, spending time with family, spending time alone, and the reminder that it's not selfish to take good care of you. On the contrary, it's really vital to your health and to the health of your family that you get some rest and that you prioritize yourself. I liked this part, that being a parent doesn't mean putting your own needs aside for the next 18 years. Children do require a lot from us, probably more than we expected, especially right now. But there are little things that we can do to maintain our own sense of self as well as our sanity and our health. So this is just another visual. I have a ton of visuals on here. I like them. But a reminder of making time for yourself. So thinking about all the things you take care of in the day, you pay bills, you feed everyone, you do the dishes, you want to do some of those things important for your children, like reading with kids, filling out forms. It's also really important to make time for you. And sometimes that might be putting yourself on the list. Often parents, I think, especially when our children are very young, might put ourselves last and think that I only can do self-care after everyone's asleep or after everyone else's needs are met. But really, the research is showing, and I think you may know this if you've practiced it, sometimes if you do something small for yourself, maybe make time to call a friend, read a little during nap time instead of do the dishes, that you actually feel more filled up for the rest of the day. So today we're going to talk about what is self-care, why it's important, and some strategies for how we can do it. So what is self-care? It's really any activity. So this is where I think everybody has a unique list of what helps them, but it's anything we do deliberately to take care of our mental, emotional, and our physical health. And it's meeting yourself without judgment and looking after yourself in a healthy way. So this is big things and small things that refuel you. Big things like exercise, cooking, getting a massage, family parties. Small things like taking a very small break, remembering to like put your shoulders down, deep breathing, taking a small drink of water. So I think one thing that has become evident for some people during COVID is that we might not have time for some of the big things. So for me, I like to do yoga classes, and if I can't find an hour to do it, then I was doing nothing. So I really had to concentrate on these small things. Okay, I can walk for 5 minutes, or I could do a few squats in my living room. And that is a way, instead of giving it all up, still trying to find some small ways to refuel. So this is what self-care is not. It's not something that we're saying this is another thing parents need to do. It's not another to-do list. It isn't selfish. It's about meeting our needs so we are more available to take care of others. And it's not fixing yourself or a goal you strive for. And please do feel free to chime in, anybody. So this feels nice to me and true. Self-care means giving yourself permission to pause. So sometimes it's just taking that 1 second to be like, whew, I'm feeling kind of crazy right now. I need to breathe, and even just acknowledge that something is, a feeling is rising up in me. We're all really dependent on technology right now. This was just another good analogy. You wouldn't let this happen to your phone. So don't let it happen to you either. That self-care isn't a priority. It's not a luxury. We don't want to see what happens when we're completely run down, completely devoid of energy. So why is it important? Some strategies and tips. This is one we used to all know if we traveled. Place the oxygen mask on yourself first before helping small children or others who need your assistance. So we're at our best if we have taken a breath, if we have gotten good sleep, if we have eaten, and then we are in a better place to help our children. Is that true for most people, that this point makes sense? Yeah, it's really important that we take care of ourselves and don't give everything we've got to other people. Self-care leads to wellness and health, and self-neglect leads to fatigue and burnout. So this gets to the point that it's not selfish. It really is prioritizing yourself for the long game, especially right now when we know that our kids are going to be home, hopefully just one more month, I'm thinking, for my children, but it's been a long time. And I have felt myself slipping a little bit into some fatigue and burnout, just feeling like every day feels a little bit like yesterday for months and months. Self-care, what does this lead to? And this would be the same for mindfulness and meditation practices, is it actually will give you a stronger immune system and better health, slowing down and better productivity. So sometimes we think if we're really busy and I don't have time to take a nap, I might get more done, but really taking care of yourself and allowing yourself that rest will increase your attention to details, help with your memory and decision making. It also will increase your self-compassion. You'll have more to give if you're compassionate with your own needs, and it increases your knowledge of yourself. So by helping to understand things that might feel frustrating, or when you need to take a break before you go and do a certain thing, you're learning about yourself and just better able to meet your own needs. Self-neglect can lead to physical symptoms like stomach aches, headaches, and inability to sleep, inability to focus and concentrate, and some emotional symptoms of maybe not wanting to reach out to people as much, feeling cynical, hopeless, or unmotivated. And this is exactly the same slide. I told you I really like pictures, but it just kind of talks about what does your body and mind look like on stress. And part of a mindfulness practice is that stress isn't always bad. Stress is something, and it's not necessarily something that we're always trying to avoid, but we want to keep it in check and recognize when we feel it. So it can, like we were saying, you can feel foggy headed, your heartbeat might be beating faster, your blood pressure can rise, your digestion is poor, your muscles can tense, but your body and mind on resilience, which is some of that recognition that stress, you're feeling stress, but it's okay, and you know how to move out of it. You can feel more clear-headed and focused. You're able to recall more information, and your parasympathetic system will slow down. So your heart will beat slower, your blood pressure will lower, and your digestion will improve. So this is, I'm hoping this, oh no, not quite yet. So different stress management techniques for building resilience. And I can see some of you, so if you want to raise your hand if you practice any of these, that'd be fun to know. Deep breathing. That's one that we can always return to. It's an anchor. Mindfulness and meditation. I put on a meditation most nights to try and get some sleep. Physical activity. That's a super important one for me. I think a lot of people kind of rely on that as a way to bring themselves back into their body and not be thinking so much and running ahead in their mind. Laughter. Anybody like to watch funny movies or just laugh? I like that. Music. I like that too. And evening downtime, like scheduling time for yourself to do something that you know is going to help yourself relax. And then I just like this image again, that the most important relationship we really have is with ourselves. We're modeling that for our children and thinking if you are showing your kids that you're taking care of yourself, you're showing them that it's important for them to take care of themselves as they grow into adults as well. So this is more of the fun part. How do I do it? So there are really kind of three aspects of self-care: physical, mental, and emotional. And if you wanted to, you could get out a piece of paper, if anyone is a note taker, and think about what you might be doing and what you might be able to increase. So this one came from the California Surgeon General, a simple guide for things you can do every day. So every day, whether we're at home or we're at the office, to support your mental and physical health, utilizing 6 strategies. So again, I just want to highlight that we can still do these things, even though we maybe feel like we're needing to be home. Balanced nutrition, mindfulness, physical activity, quality sleep, supportive relationships, and mental health care. So some examples of those: physical is thinking about sleep, stretching, walking. Emotional could be forgiveness, compassion, kindness, stress management. So recognizing if you're feeling stressed by virtual school or virtual services and what you could do differently. Social, and this can both be boundaries, like saying no to some things, seeking out your support systems. And that's been one that's been highlighted a lot in research right now, is just because people are really at home with your family unit, and it can be difficult to reach out to friends or find time. So thinking about how you might be able to connect with some people, if that's something that supports you, being able to ask for help. And then a spiritual component, which may be time alone, it may be time with other people, time outside, whatever your practice is that helps you kind of connect to something bigger than yourself. So we're going to start with physical self-care. And those questions like, are you getting adequate sleep? Are you eating healthy? And are you getting exercise? These are hard ones. And they're often the ones that I think moms and dads may let go of because we have to get more done. So some ideas about adequate sleep is the recommendations are 7 to 8 hours a day, taking a power nap, and then really thinking about how you can maintain a pre-sleep routine. An occupational therapist recently came to my class and talked about this, and sleep is something also that many people are not doing since we've been in this pandemic. And she said some things that I hadn't thought of before, and one of them was just like natural light. Like, are we all getting enough natural light to give our bodies that message that it's time to go to sleep? Because we're at home more. We're not like walking outside as much, even those little touches of light. And thinking about that, how much time you give yourself to unwind. So just like we say for children that 2 hours before going to sleep, it's a good idea to get off of screen time. It's the same for adults. So how can we practice some of those things so we are supporting our sleep habits? And
So can I add something in there about the screen time and sleep? I really was looking at this just for myself because I was having trouble falling asleep, which usually hasn't been a problem prior to the pandemic. And it was interesting because I kind of tracked and watched. If I watched TV, if I used my iPad and played a game, if I did like paperwork on the laptop before going to bed, I could not fall asleep for honestly, sometimes 2.5 hours. If I stopped it about an hour ahead of time and I could read, I could do other visual things like read or walk or even like do dishes or something, I could fall asleep. And the more I thought about it, I looked up information, and really that screen time really impacts sleep a lot. Like it, just whether you're on your phone, playing a game or whatever. So that was something I really noticed when I kind of watched it more closely, really made a big impact on me to kind of cut that out, like in the evening. I just don't do that anymore.
And we're all having more time on screens because we may be working virtually. We may be helping kids access school virtually. Like I was just trying to type my son's Zoom in for his piano lesson. But it is something just to kind of consider and learn about yourself. Does anybody else have any strategies that they use for falling asleep at night? I often drink tea. Go ahead.
Is that okay for me to add something? So one thing that I have really found helpful is deep breathing in bed. I'll take, on honestly, like if I take about 6 to 8 really nice long deep breaths in, I kind of hold it a little bit and then I let it out slowly. That does a world of good for me. They say 3 deep breaths, but for me it's about 6 or 8. And if my mind's racing and thinking and stuff, that just really helps clear it. It just does it for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's great. And I am somebody who likes to like shake it out, and then I put on a little sleep meditation. I almost always fall asleep
Oh, you do
in
sleep
like 2
meditation.
minutes. So the next is thinking about, are you eating healthy? I know that's one that for me that kind of goes out the window once I'm feeling stressed or busy. I might crave like more sugary things or just not full meals, but that's helpful. And then just remembering to drink water. So water helps deliver oxygen. It just is so good for us in so many ways. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. And then thinking when you can to load your plate with fruits and vegetables. So I think sometimes our body craves that fast sugar release when we're stressed, but thinking if you can slow down and give yourself some of those micronutrients. We're going to talk about it right now. So this is one of my most favorite slides. I work a lot with toddlers, and most recently a strategy that I've heard, like whether they're frustrated or they don't want to stop an activity, they're having difficulty transitioning, or they're just kind of in a rut, think about adding water. So adding water could be giving them water to play with. It could be taking a bath. It could be having a nice cold drink of water, or like a cup of cozy tea. Some people give their children tea. But I think all of those things are true for adults too. Water can be such a nice reset if we choose to take a bath, or for me, actually just water. I'm going to take a drink right now. And really focusing on that you're doing something for yourself, that can be a nice reset. So here is just a picture of all the ways that water can be restorative for people. I don't know if anyone else finds it. Florian, you kind of mentioned this, but doing the dishes, sometimes that can be a really mindful practice for me, where I'm not thinking about helping my kids with their homework or what I have to do tomorrow, but just really feeling the water. And so this is an example, and we're going to listen, take a minute. I hope this works, to listen to a meditation about hand washing. So knowing that right now we're doing, that the importance of washing our hands. This is something we're doing all the time. So could we use this time that we're already washing to keep our bodies and our minds healthy? So just practice a little bit of mindfulness. If you add up all the little moments of times that you wash your hands each day and take just 1 second there to kind of sink in and be in your body, that could potentially be a lot of mindful moments, and see if you can make it fun. So there's 2 on here. And if anyone's interested, I'd be happy to share this video. There's one about a shower too that you could just practice. Let's see if this works. And feel free to turn off your video if that makes you feel better about like just thinking about a meditation. I'm going to go ahead and start it now.
This meditation is meant to be done whenever you wash your hands. I don't expect you to play this recording every time. So let's keep it simple, enjoyable, and easy to remember. Take a moment. Even though it's only 20 seconds, find the right water temperature. It sounds silly, but oftentimes we use water that's far too hot or far too cold. You deserve nice feeling water. Find a temperature that you like. Now, as you place your hands under the water, imagine any worry, any stress, any tension being washed away. Breathe in and breathe out.
River, are you starting your lesson?
Continue to soap your hands. Remember all the people that you're protecting with this action. By washing your hands, you're keeping yourself healthy. And with that action, you're protecting all of those around you. So practicing metta or compassion meditation, think kind thoughts about the elderly man or the pregnant mother that you pass by today. This is a vulnerable person that by washing your hands, you're protecting from catching some kind of bug that you may carry. Take another deep breath and send gratitude, kindness, and compassion to all humans, all animals, all plants and trees, to the fresh air and the clean water. Take another deep breath. Become aware of the room around you. As you dry your hands, send a big dose of kindness
Ribby, are you on
and
your lesson?
compassion to yourself too. Even though it's only 20 seconds, it's not that easy to incorporate mindful moments into your day. So celebrate the fact that you remembered to do it and notice how good it feels. Suds up and stay strong.
Oops. I'm sorry, I might have shouted if my son was on his lesson. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what do you guys think of that? Was there anything there that you might be able to hold on to the next time you wash your hands? I like that.
Yeah, I actually really liked it. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't heard it.
Raimi, were you going to say something?
I liked the comment about finding the right temperature. I don't know how many times I wash my hands and it's freezing cold, or yeah, it takes so long, it seemed, to get to the right temperature.
Yeah, that you might just go quickly. I like that part too, that it's like you deserve the right temperature of water. That's like, yeah, I do. Thanks for sharing. So there is another one for shower included too, excuse me. So that could be nice just to listen to it another time. And then thinking about physical self-care, are you getting exercise? An exercise, the routine that works for you. And I shared this at the beginning that I don't have time to do the long exercise that I would like to do right now. So then instead of letting it all go, which I think I did for a few months, I've brought it back in these little bits, like small dance parties with my children, or trying to do a couple squats on my own, or doing some push-ups. But I guess the idea is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like if you can't do exactly what you want, you can still make these small practices towards moving your body that will help you kind of get out of your brain a little bit. Simple unstructured activities. So this just keeps coming up in the research as some of the best, and some of it is walking kind of without a purpose. All of those activities have this really natural beat. Like if you think about your feet just going, it's like that heartbeat. It can be relaxing to children, and the same is true for adults. So those things can be really just help you feel better. And then I love this. So thinking about if any of you have pets or when you had babies, it's very natural for most mammals. The first thing they do in the morning is stretch. And we can do this in what, like 10, 15 seconds. And it feels really different. I see Raimi, I see you doing it now. And for me too, if you see someone else, you're like, oh yeah, that feels really good. So trying to remember to take a second to stretch. That's another very small thing we can fit in our day. And then this is focusing on your breath. It's kind of your anchor. You can always return to your breath. It happens really subconsciously. And it can just help us increase oxygen to our brain, and again, relax your parasympathetic system so that you just physically are less stressed. So do you know that something as simple as focusing on your breath can practice with mindfulness? And we're going to give it a shot here. There's an example of I'm going to rewind that. It's a 4-7-8 breath. So it's going to coach us to breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, and then release for 8. Did anybody notice anything that happened for them while taking that deep breath?
I noticed that my jaw relaxed, my shoulders relaxed. And what had occurred to me is that that's the same kind of counting rhythm pattern that I do when I try to fall asleep. That is helpful. So it also just kind of brings it all down to a more relaxed state, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about the 4-7-8 specifically, but it's the kind of an easy one to remember. And again, if you wake up at the middle of the night, you could try it. For me, I really like that holding your breath in. That's kind of relaxing. So on the topic of mini breaks, you can try one of those. You can try a 4-7-8 breath. There's also some box breaths that just you visualize a box being created as you breathe in and breathe out. Zoning out. So that's funny because when I had young kids, I always would be like, oh, I love to space out. Anytime when people would be like, sorry, you're waiting. And I'm like, oh no, that was great. I wasn't thinking about anything. But what about like in the driveway, like you come home from an errand, just taking a minute or two to yourself before you go in and rejoin your family. And mini breaks could be something like walking to the window, opening the window and taking a deep breath of air. So all of these things are ways just to change your course of action. Get off of that to-do list for a quick second and kind of return to yourself. Another way is to check in how you're feeling throughout the day. So thinking of emotions just as information and accepting without judgment. And some people might set phone reminders like every 2 hours, there's a little bell or something, just to really think, what am I feeling? So this is a quick video about the importance and kind of why we might practice mindfulness.
Despite what you may have heard, meditation does not involve joining a group, paying any fees, wearing any special outfits, sitting in a funny position, or believing in anything in particular. It is simple, secular, scientifically validated exercise for your brain. You don't have to do it yet, but just so you know, here are the 3 steps. 1, sit with your back straight and your eyes closed. 2, notice the feeling of your breath coming in and going out. Pick a spot where it's most prominent. Usually that's your nose or your chest or your belly, and just focus your full attention on the feeling of your breath coming in and going out. Now, as soon as you try to do this, your mind's going to go nuts. You're going to start thinking about, what am I going to have for lunch? Why did I say that dumb thing to my boss? Your brain's going to go nuts, and that's fine. The whole game is to notice when you've gotten lost and to start over, and then to start over again and again and again. Every time you do that, it's like a bicep curl for your brain, and it shows up on the brain scan. Scientists have found this in the lab. It's also, by the way, a radical act. You're breaking a lifetime's habit of walking around in a fog of projection and rumination, and you're actually focusing on what's happening right now. Meditation is unlike anything you do in the rest of your life. Failure is actually success. As I said, the whole game is just trying, failing, starting again, failing, starting again. Here's my advice. You should be meditating every day, 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's it. This doesn't require some giant investment. I don't care how busy you are. You have 5 to 10 minutes to give this a shot. I guarantee you it will make a big difference.
Any thoughts on that?
I really liked that, Krista. I've never thought of it as that start, fail, start again. Like, because I always feel like I'm horrible at meditation because my mind does go a million places, and to think, okay, just start over. Like, that's usually when I give up.
I felt the same way when I first saw this video some years back and thought, okay, this is the practice. And that changed everything really for me to think, oh, because my mind is going to these other places, the way that I'm exercising my brain is just pulling it back. Oh, nope, it's just not dinner time yet. Like, be right here for a second. So I'm glad, Rami. I think it's a fun one. And even just to rewatch it, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's good. Because there's not very many things that are like that. Like, usually you have an idea and then again, you're like, well, I'm not good at meditating either. I'm not going to do this, but this is a way to reframe that.
I just, that's so key. I have, prior to, looking at this presentation that you had, Krista, about a week ago when I first saw it, I was like really pleased to see that in there, because when we meditate, right, or even just taking breaths, you take the breath, and then as you're exhaling and you relax, and then all these thoughts come up. And so what I had to learn to do was to acknowledge that all those other thoughts of everything that needs to get done or whatever is stressing me out or whatever it is, it's there. I acknowledge that it's there. And then I take another breath and start over again. And it's really enlightening. I think it's a great video. So
the idea that it's practice, that for me is like,
yes.
okay, I'm not going to get to the end and finish this. This is just a practice, really helps. So along those lines, you can set intentions for the day. You can write to-do lists. I know some people like to write things down after they've done them, just to have that satisfaction of that your list, yes, is still growing, but you are making progress. Paying attention to yourself and the surroundings. So we can do that through lots of different ways. People connect through prayer, visualization, deep breathing, mindfulness. And there are some meditation guides like Headspace and Calm that I often just YouTube at night, like meditation for sleep. So there's a lot of things out there. This is another example of just a very easy practice. How can we practice mindfulness in a quick way, again, without it being too complicated? So I hope you guys like this as well.
People often associate mindfulness with meditation, and that's correct. Meditation is a big part of mindfulness practice, but it's not the only part of mindfulness practice. In my opinion, if you want to have a complete mindfulness practice, that involves two things. One, formal meditation, yes, done consistently. And then two, actually integrating mindfulness into your daily life, which can be easier said than done. So to help you with that, I wanted to share kind of a little mindfulness game that helps you dip a toe into this idea of bringing mindfulness into your daily life. This game is called Spot Red, and it's really simple. As you're walking along or sitting on public transit, or whenever you just have some idle time, just start trying to spot everything in your environment that's red. Like, oh, that hat is red. That person's backpack is red. That book that person's reading is red. That car is red. Just sort of boom, 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 boom. As you walk along or sit there or whatever it is, just try and spot everything red. Now, this may sound kind of weird, but it's actually pretty fun to do because it really brings you into the present moment. You can't be stuck in your head, worrying about things or planning things or judging yourself or spinning around in these stories that we make in our heads. You can't do that while you're playing Spot Red. It draws you into the present moment. And it also gets you into a nice kind of groove, what some people might call a flow state, because it's not that hard to do, but it's a little bit challenging. It's sort of just challenging enough to engage you in a fun way. If you give it a try, you'll see what I mean. It's actually pretty enjoyable. And of course, you can do variants on this game, right? Obviously, you could do Spot Orange or Spot Pink or something like that. But you could also do Spot Round or Spot Shiny, right? Or any sort of distinct visual quality. You can use that as the criterion and try and spot that as you go about your day or whenever you have these little blocks of idle time. It's pretty fun. Give it a try.
Does anybody think they'll give that a try? I loved that idea. And it made me think, especially, we're always talking about the importance of play for children. And this is a little bit of play for adults. It kind of sounds like a fun game. And thinking about it with kids' toys, I thought that there would be a lot of opportunity to like spot red or see Elmo, or, just it's fun to think of that. The next was about mental self-care. Florine, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about going for walks with children, like spot flower. Like you could be outside and you could be spotting flowers that are popping up on, there's all kinds of things out there right now that are just coming out of the ground and blooming on trees.
Ooh, yeah, I might play
Flower.
spot
I
flower.
like that. I like that one on a walk. That would be good.
There is some correlation. We talked about screen time a little bit before, about social media and like it increasing stress rather than decreasing, and news consumption. News consumption has been huge this last year. And if you find that it's agitating you, it could be good to lessen that or put some limits around it. And then the idea of practicing gratitude. So that practice is also pretty research-based. Even just saying 3 things that you're grateful for each day is just, again, retraining your brain. Instead of thinking like what I have to do and what I'm not doing enough of, or what my worries are, you're recognizing some of those things that are good in your life. So I liked these videos that sometimes self-care is less about what we add and it might be more about what we subtract. So noticing, okay, I am going to log off social media, or I'm going to declutter some of these toys. I'm going to say no to an invitation. That right now I'll say yes to anything. So I'm not doing that. But in the past, we were very busy, very scheduled. So it could have been important to sometimes say no. And then this is just some of those ideas about things to be grateful for. Like if you aren't thinking of them, you could think about your book or something that you're eating. And these again are some of those mindfulness practices. Like as you eat an avocado, like, oh, I love this avocado. I'm so grateful for it. Life, nature, sunshine. Right now, I just brought in some Daphne by my work. I guess you can't see it because of the green screen, but little touches of nature that can help you remember to just look around and kind of spot that gratitude. And then we're social beings. So just making sure that you do have people that you can talk to that understand and support you, and that you find those people. And then emotional self-care. So this can be some of what we were talking about, observing your emotions and kind of that practice that emotions are like waves. It's much like childbirth, knowing that that's going to pass. Like when you're frustrated, maybe you're tense with your child, that is going to pass and it's okay. These are all things that all parents have in common, that sometimes our children can bring up some difficult feelings in us. So accepting them and letting them go, and then writing it down. Some people like to write down, or I guess blog. I don't know. Mindfulness, Florian, did you want to talk about this one? Oops, we can't hear you.
Yeah, and I just unmuted myself. I'll just talk briefly about this. So a couple things about mindfulness is there's this piece of attention, and then there's another piece of intention. And so when I think of attention, I think of things like inside my body, like it mentioned breath, but also things that Krista Jo mentioned earlier, like is my heart racing? Am I feeling kind of flush? Am I, do I feel like maybe I'm really stressed and tight, my muscles are tight? It also, in terms of attention, can be outside experiences. So is there a lot of noise going on around me, traffic going by? Are kids crying? Like, are kids crying and I'm not able to solve whatever it is that my child's crying about? And so those are things that are part of mindfulness, that to be attentive to what's going on inside of you and around you, but then to respond more with intention. So when you respond more with intention, you're really thoughtfully, in a way, blocking out, like we were describing before, letting go of all that extra noise and all the child actually maybe crying very strongly, and really having some compassion and some heart in terms of centering in and really helping the child calm, instead of getting frustrated because you don't understand what they want. It's more of a really intentionally trying to connect, read their cues, be present with the child in that moment. And that's just an example. One of the things that, if I have time, I'd like to share an example of a parent that was from Junction City, and they live walking distance to that Scandinavian fair thing that runs every year, and they have multiple children. And there are some older children as well as younger children, and somewhere in the middle is a child on the autism spectrum, and a loud vehicle went by, and then the beep, beep, beep of the backup when they were kind of setting things up near a booth, and it really set him off. And in the past, he would have been very stressed. She might have gotten very tense, and just, kind of like everybody go home type of reaction. And instead she asked the older children and her husband just to keep going, and gave them a place to go to. And she really blocked out all the stuff going on, like had intention of blocking out all this other noise and stuff going on that was setting her child off, and really tried to connect with him on a very emotional level in terms of helping him calm in an environment that wasn't very calming to him. And so again, she was attentive to her own signals, the signals of her son, of her whole family and the environment around them, and then really trying to have intentional behavior herself in terms of how to respond to her son and help him kind of be able to calm down and then rejoin the family, and so I think that's a good example of how they both work, because she knew what was going on around her and then used her intention to kind of help calm him and herself.
Yeah, great example. And that's what we're going to practice next is so that these types of mindfulness meditations can both be used in the moment. So after you've practiced it, sometimes when you might be in an experience like that, you can kind of hold on to it again and recognize what's happening for you, and then use that intention to respond to a challenging situation, maybe with your children. And this is, maybe it's not here quite yet. Let me see. But this is part of the mindfulness package that Florian and I worked on, and we can send you this link. It's really nice because there's short meditations, and many of them do have to do with parenting, which I think is great. Along observing emotions is sometimes the best thing is just to step back and observe it. We often might be of the mind that we need to fix things, but sometimes it's just happening. It is just what it is. And that hiding from our emotions won't make them go away. I liked this visual because sometimes it feels like, gosh, I don't want to think about sadness right now, or doubt right now, or worry. But the idea that acknowledging them, writing them down, doing some journaling, that can actually be supportive. So here is the meditation. This one's called Detaching from Thoughts. And again, feel free to turn off your video while you're listening and kind of practicing this.
This exercise is called Detaching from Thoughts. And in this exercise, we're going to practice letting go of thoughts that interfere with our ability to be fully present in moments, including during interactions with our children. Our brains are like powerful and tireless engines, working away day and night, always analyzing, critiquing, and judging. Our brains anticipate threats like failure, rejection, or problems with our relationships and social connections. And sometimes the thoughts we have are true, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're helpful, and sometimes they're not. But seeing thoughts as they are, letting them come and go, allows us the opportunity to respond to situations in real time. So go ahead and get into a comfortable, open position. Let your eyes soften or close, and begin breathing in and out through the nose, letting your chest and belly rise and fall. And gradually settle into a rhythm of full, slow breathing. And now gently bring your attention to any thoughts that your mind is generating right now. You might notice that some thoughts pass quickly and that some persist. Some thoughts might seem small and trivial. Others might be recurrent worries or memories or plans. The thoughts may be pleasant, recalling enjoyable experiences or imagining upcoming events with anticipation and enthusiasm. The thoughts may be troubling. Sometimes our minds might tell us things like, I'm not a good enough parent, or my child is not trying, or my child is incapable of something, or people are judging me and my child. And when this happens, we might automatically believe that thought, get caught up in it, and then feel stressed, frustrated, or upset. And these strong thoughts and feelings can give us information about what's important to us. And sometimes these strong thoughts and feelings can prevent us from taking steps that are important to us as parents. They can also fuel feelings of anger and resentment, feelings that can prevent us from taking helpful action. So instead of allowing your thoughts to take over, See what it's like to step back and recognize that this is a thought your mind has come up with. And you can simply notice it and allow it to be there. Acknowledge that this thought may or may not be true. This thought may or may not help us to do the things we want to do, to parent the way we want to parent, or to live the way we want to live. So again, take a few moments to notice your thoughts. And as you observe the thoughts that come up, see if you can notice them without judgment. You might simply say to yourself, this is a thought my mind has come up with. Or simply, this is a thought. Now, as we transition to the end of this exercise, begin to turn your focus outside of yourself, increasing your awareness of any sounds you're hearing right now and other outside sensations, such as smells and the temperature around you. And now gently open your eyes to become more aware of your surroundings. And as you move through your day, take a moment to acknowledge how much energy your mind spends constructing these thoughts. Recognize that they come and go. Appreciate your mind for all its hard work. Appreciate all its effort. And also recognize that you're not obliged to buy into every thought and story your mind comes up with. In fact, you don't have to do anything about them. You can just let them be there. Noticing and accepting our inner experience reduces our reactivity and helps us act in ways that we value with our children and the other important people in our lives. Thank you for taking the time to practice detaching from thoughts.
So that is just that along that same idea of observing your thoughts, maybe naming your thoughts. I don't know if anyone had any comments about that. That one has always kind of stuck with me around like, you are not your thoughts. Like if I can find myself really ruminating, that is a very solid reminder for me. And then again, just thinking about the brain science. So this would be all of our brains right now, just even that small little meditation that we are really allowing your brain to stop working a little bit and relax, and how important that is for all of your whole body and the rest of your day. I think that's amazing, this picture. I'm fascinated by the brain science.
Krista Jo,
Uh-huh.
it looks like someone put in a link for the Monterey Bay Aquarium mindfulness meditation.
Nice.
I don't know who that was, but it looks, they like it apparently.
Great. I'll include that in resources. Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. And then I'm going to write in the name of the app that the meditation came
And I
from.
have it on the last slide as
Oh,
well.
you do? Okay.
Thank you.
So this again was just that reminder about finding your people. I love this visual that sometimes just talking it out can really kind of help you untangle what's in your mind. And that by sharing our own thoughts and our own experiences, even just by acknowledging that the pandemic is a lot right now, that is helpful to other people. It just normalizes the experience that so many of us are under right now. This is a weird time and people are a little bit stressed. So quickly, emotional self-care can be just learning to say no and creating healthy boundaries and asking for help and accepting our limitations. So again, I think as moms, as parents with children at home, we're getting a lot more kind of put on our plate. So it's almost making it impossible not to say no sometimes, and impossible not to really look at the things that are on our lists and what is realistic and what is unrealistic for a person to do in a day. And just this idea of being kind to yourself, whatever that might be. cuddling with a pet, taking a bubble bath, baking, video chatting. You probably have your own ideas. I think like lighting a candle, these very small moments of mindfulness do add up. I don't think we have time for another meditation, probably. So we'll skip that, but that's a really good one. And then these are just some very quick ideas about how we could get moving. You could dance to your favorite song with your children. That brisk walk can be helpful. Hobbies can be a really nice way, especially if your mind is very busy. Coloring with your children, doing crosswords. A lot of people like Sudoku, and all of that, again, is just, it's another way to look at mindfulness because you're very focused on something that isn't your thoughts just going round and round. Getting outside, and that's especially important in Lane County, and especially when it's so rainy, and important for our sleep, that natural light releases feel-good chemicals in our body and helps to balance you. And then if you're still doubtful, the idea is just set realistic expectations. The last thing we want is for anyone to walk away thinking, oh, I have more things to do. But thinking about when you might be able to put some self-care in. If you manage to get dinner on the table, consider that a win, especially during high stress times like the pandemic. How can you simplify routines and celebrate yourself? So I hope everyone does a little hand wash meditation maybe. And I did put some other things, but we'll just skip past these. Thinking about taking, I'm going to highlight a couple of them. Thinking about taking a couple times of when your children might nap to do something for yourself instead of jumping right to chores, and positive self-talk. So, oh, there's some writing. You could write. To do these brain dumps are really helpful. And then just mostly please be kind to yourself because 2020 has been so much to process. So that acknowledgement that it's normal to feel sad and stressed out. And then here are a lot of resources. And so this we could probably put on the Facebook page also. They probably are already there. There's Triple P Parenting. There's an organization you can call the Connect, can connect you to social organizations. There's a site that helps with prioritizing self-care if you're working from home. Simple mindfulness practices for daily life. And then at the bottom, that practice parenting, that is, I'm going to skip ahead. That is the practice mind. That's where those meditations came from. And there's several others there. And then breathe, think, do is a nice one that you can make do with your children. That is beginning mindfulness for kids, taking deep breaths, and can be pretty fun too. Sorry, I had to speed up there at the end.
That seems like the story of our lives these days, right? So, Krista, are you done?
I am.
That was awesome. That was jam-packed full of information. Thank you so much. Just take 1 second if anyone has any quick questions for Krista or Florine. We'll be sure we get a PDF of the resources up with the link. That would be really helpful, I think. So I just want to thank everyone. First of all, I want to thank Krista and Florine for all the effort you put in to make this presentation super worthwhile. And I'm going to watch it again myself. Good things to practice. And thank everyone for coming. And don't forget that Early Childhood Cares is here to help any families who have concerns or want to just check in about their young kids from birth to 5. Check us out on our website or give us a call at 541-346-2578. So thank you again and have a very nice evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for making time for us on a busy Monday and for your listening ear.
Thank you, Krista and Florine. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Rami. Thanks for
Thank
sharing your
you.
experience.
See you later.